Introduce themselves, but this is Toro, Locks and Queues for Tornado. Take it away, Jesse.
Good morning. Wow, that's loud. I'm Jesse Davis from Tengen. I'm a Python developer there, and a few months ago I wrote a package called Toro, which provides synchronization primitives for Tornado coroutines, which sounds pretentious, but it's actually really cute. So, some background. This is a classic Tornado asynchronous request handler. It receives an HTTP GET, and it fetches an external resource. And it registers a callback to be executed when the response is available. So that's down there at the bottom. This looks simple, but this is the beginning of callback hell. So Tornado has a module called gen, which lets you write your request handlers as generators or as coroutines. So you can see here that the callback is gone, and instead we're yielding this gen task object, which pauses this coroutine, initiates the I/O, and when the I/O is complete, the central event loop will resume this coroutine with the response. So that's great, but if we have thousands of these concurrent coroutines running in a process, how can we coordinate them? If there were multiple threads, they could signal each other to wait or to resume using locks, conditions, events, and queues, but we don't have those available for coroutines in Tornado. So that's what Toro provides. And here's a classic consumer producer example, but instead of two threads and a synchronized queue, I'm using two coroutines and a Toro queue. So up at the top, we've got a Toro.joinable queue, and we'll see in a second why it's important that it's joinable. And I set the max size to 3. The producer puts items into the queue, and once it's put 3 items into the queue has reached its max size, and the producer will be blocked, and the event loop will arrange to resume it when there's room in the queue for it to put items. The consumer, conversely, pulls items from the queue until the queue is empty, and then it waits for a next item to be put in. So down near the bottom, we start a producer and a consumer, and that penultimate line, queue.join, callback equals loop.stop, that arranges for the event loop to exit once the queue is empty, and then the process will end. So with all of that set up, we do loop.start, and that has the desired effect. You can see that the producer sends the first 3 items, and then when it's about to send the 4th, the queue is full and it gets paused and yields control to the event loop. That allows the consumer to start up, and it gets the next 3 items from the queue. And after that, they have this nice alternation until all of the items have been sent through the queue and the process exits. So that was an example with a queue. Toro provides mutexes, locks, conditions, and events as well. It's on Read the Docs and GitHub. And my Twitter handle is at the bottom there. Tweet me if you use this, because I think it's cool and it's useful, and I want to see what you make. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so is Ron Cox around? Okay, it's all right. I'm just advising you, you're not actually up next. I'm just trying to keep everyone alert. And for those of you who weren't here at the start of the session, Lightning Talks will be going on till 10 this morning. So we may be looking for speakers. Polish up your Lightning Talks. Okay, Kushal, your second name is? Kushal Das. Yes, that's it. Fine. So now we have Kushal Das to talk about retask.
Cool. Good morning. So it's retask. It's basically another queuing system in Python. You might want to ask why another one. So around a few months back, at least 6 or 7 months back, I was trying out the available options and found it's very difficult to do the initial setup for most of the already available modules out there. So when I started writing this, the initial idea was the ease of use and the simplest setup. So the user should be able to just create a queue and then start using it. That was the end goal. It's on cheese shop, so if you want to try it out now, you can just do pip install retask, or if you are on Fedora, it's a package there. If there is any Debian developer here wants to package it up, I would love to talk after this. The backend is on Redis. The re part came from Redis. Anyway, so it's basically, you can see we are just creating a queue.connect, and then start using it. You can, while creating the queue, you can pass some configuration values, like if it is not in the same system, if it is in the local or somewhere else in the network, or if you have a password to the Redis. You can create tasks with the data as in JSON. I mean, at the backend, it's using only JSON data. You can enqueue as many tasks you want. In this example, we are just trying to print one result first and see if there is any result came back or not. This is the async consumer. So it just waits for the queue, in the queue, if there is a new task coming in or not. After getting the task, it sleeps for 15 seconds and returning back the task with the result. So this is one more example with the synchronous blocking. So you can actually, after creating the job, you can actually call job.wait. So it will wait for the result to come back. You can actually give a timeout option also. Like I think the default value is 120 seconds or maybe 60. I don't remember right now. So, and it will wait for the result. If it doesn't come back by that time, it will give you an empty result set back. The documentation is up there. It's retask.rtfd. Currently, in the Fedora infrastructure, we have a couple of projects which are using it. One of them is the dark server. I'll be talking more about it during poster sessions. And few upcoming projects started using it. So if you want to just play around with a new kind of simpler queue, just have a look. The code is in GitHub. So go there, have a look. Send me patches. You are always welcome. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kushal, and I'd like to thank both this morning's speakers for observing the rule that you don't actually have to use all 5 minutes in a lightning talk. Okay, Ron, if you'd like to come up and set up as the next speaker. And then after Ron, we'll be looking for Guto at guto.net. My God, it's bright up here. Is this going to take a little longer than we anticipated? What's the deal? Oh, good.
I just can't.
You just can't what? What is it, the scrubbing or what? Okay, so next, apparently, we're going to hear from Kirby Erner, who would like to talk about Pythonic andragogy.
Okay, welcome. I often give this talk as a much longer talk, so my challenge is to skip most of the source code. Andragogy, as you probably know, is in contrast to pedagogy. Pedagogy is for teaching kids. I know there's a better way to do this, but And andragogy is for teaching adults, but what's an adult? We have kind of lots of connotations there. It could be any number of things. What I've come to is kind of like Adult Swim TV. It's like demented cartoons. We're still kids at heart, but it's kind of trendy, spoofy. South Park's a good example. That's the South Park guy scared of our logo. I found it on Google. I don't know what. I use another word for trendy, spoofy would be edgy. Now, in the curriculum itself, I tend to use ASCII art for output, which is, of course, ridiculous. We all know we can use beautiful graphics these days, but it's to develop a hunger for people to have real good graphics. So they learn the principles. There's a lot of computer science and other kind of stuff embedded in this curriculum. What curriculum am I talking about? My name's Kirby Erner. I work for O'Reilly, and we could call this the fifth in a series of 4 Python courses. The 4 that I'm talking about are live. I do teach them. The 5th one, which I'm showing you here, is kind of hypothetical. It's bleeding edge going into the future. You know about turtle graphics. What we do here is to be more adult and relate more to adults. Adults don't relate to turtles as much as kids do, so we do tractors. It's the same thing, though. You put tractors on a 2D field, and they go around, and you can have lots of tractors. You can instance like 40 tractors at once. I call them crop circle tractors in one of my exercises, meaning you have a whole bunch that go across the field and do a Mandelbrot set. You know how crop circles are, right? And it's okay to have a little bit of alien weirdness here, because I find adults are more receptive when they don't quite know where you're coming from, kind of like from Mars. So Python from Mars. That's why I have that alien guy lying there. He's actually a Facebook friend of mine. His name is Nabil Shaban. So this kind of covers wow, what an echo. This kind of covers sort of the concept map of where I'm looking at. When you plow a field with your tractor and you replace the letter A with the letter X, showing where your tractor's been, there's metaphor pixel depth there. You know, the deeper the bits, the more you could put like Unicode characters. So in future, our tractors will start putting down Chinese ideographs or something like that. We're giving more background in the Unicode. So that's kind of where the source code goes. Oh, I do want to mention, we all use generators a lot, but I don't see, having gone to a number of talks, too much use of send. We use yield, but you know, you can send stuff into a generator, and my tractor, one of them is developed as a generator. It actually runs low on fuel too, so as you run this, unlike those turtles are immortal and they seem to not need fuel, but you got to feed this tractor. That gives you more realism. Adults like realism sometimes. Anyway, I can update this tractor as a generator at the end. It's fun because I use send. So where this goes is we're dealing with adults. We're talking about tractors. It kind of reminds us of the socialist realist period when tractors were so celebrated. And I think this really works with where we're going in Portland anyway, Oregon, aesthetically. There's a tendency to incorporate sort of, because we're open source, I know we're all capitalists here, but we're also perceived as .commies and the rest of it. So instead of fighting that and being all like defensive, it's like, okay, we'll go there. And so, you know, I like telling people I work in a company based in Sebastopol, and then I kind of leave a pause and say, California, but you know, Sebastopol, it's in Russia, right? So you've all seen this. That kind of fits the aesthetic. This is, okay, I'm going to speed up here. That's not anti-Perl, but you should look this up if you haven't seen it, right? It's about getting beyond Perl. And this fits with the current time. I mean, people are really worried about Obama and his leftists, socialists, or whatever. So I'm just saying, okay, go ahead, worry. And connects to Shepard Fairey's art, which is important. Back to the concept of edgy. I think Mad Magazine is a good example of edginess. I have 23 more seconds. And I want to say about the Python community, I encourage us to see ourselves as a nation, kind of a virtual nation. Not because I'm a nationalist, but I think as we flood the world with more and more virtual nations, we'll take nations less seriously. And in this slide, I'm showing, I tell people that windmill in the background shows how close we are to Python Perl, because the windmill is Guido's house. He lives right there. So
okay. Really Thanks very much, Kirby Erner. What what Kirby didn't mention is that the 4 classes that he's already teaching for O'Reilly were written by me, so he's actually got a huge load to carry there. He makes them seem almost reasonable. Okay, so where is Guto? Guto at guto.net should be setting up next. Or are they about to lose their slot? I was wrong about the timing, by the way, because, of course, there's the scheduled time for Raymond's keynote to start. It was 9:40. We'll be sticking with that time. Jesse's going to come down at 9 o'clock and have a word with us. So, no Guto at guto.net. Okay, where's Fernanda at titansgroup.com.br? Gee, Willikins, these people don't want to speak. Wes at policystat.com? My speakers list's disappearing. Andrew.talk.baker@gmail.com. Okay, would you like to come up to the front and set up, please? That means that we only have Justin Lilly and Merwalk at netwalk.org. Are they here, Justin? Is Justin around? Yeah, okay, and Merwalk? Okay, so Justin will be coming up after our current speaker, who is Ron Cox, and he's going to talk about how and why a Java expert switched to Python. Take it away, Ron.
Thank you. Good morning. Hi, I'm Ron, and I'm a recovering Java programmer. It's been 18 months since my last Java project. Thank you. A long time ago in a Milwaukee far, far away, I got into Java very early, version 1. Java wasn't really good for much at that point. It's still not. Yeah, I know. So, but when they come out with the serverless specification and we could do web apps, I got into Java pretty much full time. I owned a consulting firm. We switched our focus entirely to Java. I made a lot of money doing Java work. I taught Java in college. I taught Java at extensions. I used to teach JBuilder, so really, really into Java. Well, about 2.5 years ago, I found myself as the first member of a small team doing mobile work, and I recruited a couple people to work with me. One person to do Android. Android work is typically done in Java. And then another person to do Apple work, which is what I was into. And coincidentally, they both had strong Java backgrounds. Well, our workload expanded rapidly to also include the work on the server. And so we were writing web services, and we were replacing an existing system that had kind of failed. So the first thing I had to do was pick my stack. So all these years of Java experience, 2 other Java people on the team made sense to go to Java, right? Not so fast. No, I had kind of had enough of Java at that point. Java's not inherently evil or anything like, yes, it is. All right, not entirely, but my issues with Java, first of all, when you talk about Java, you're talking about 2 different things. There's a Java language and there's a Java platform. With the Java language, I felt like it wasn't productive enough. It's pretty similar to writing C without having to manage memory and without all the benefits of writing in C. So we could have looked at alternative languages on the Java platform, and we did. But I also wasn't crazy about the Java platform. It's very resource hungry and kind of complicated. I was looking for something a little simpler. And I'd always kind of admired Python, and Python user base is very loyal. So after looking at our alternatives, we dove into Python. And I say it's a false start because we didn't get very far. We were charged with doing a tremendous amount of work in a very short time, and we gave Python a couple of weeks, not exactly enough to give it a fair shake, but it felt like we weren't progressing fast enough. None of us knew Python. Nobody else in the company knew Python. Python's not very common in my neck of the woods. Really, nothing is except for Java and .NET, unfortunately. But so we switched back to Java. Well, my role expanded quite a bit, and I was running all of the product engineering in this company, and I got to pick the stack. So we were coding in Java, so we said Java or Scala or Python. for languages. And I held that role for a couple of years. And no one ever coded anything in Python. Java just would not let go of these people. So I was always encouraging Python. When I was coding in Python, but nobody else did. Well, about a year ago, a friend of mine came up with this concept for what we now call Safe to Start. And it's an iPad app, and then there's a lot of stuff on the server. So once again, I could pick my stack. And I picked Python. So this is episode 6, Return to the Python. So what I ended up with is Python 3.2, Cherry Pie. Started out with MySQL and then switched to Mongo. For the reasons that people use NoSQL databases, I felt like the schema enforcement was killing me. So we switched. We use the most excellent Mailgun, and all of this is deployed on Amazon Web Services. So the question is, how's it going? I think it's going great. I feel very productive. I use PyCharm, which I think is a very nice IDE, and I see a fan there. And my only complaint or my only concern is the apparent rift between Python 2 and 3. I'm a little baffled by that. We're going to be on Startup Road today. If you want to stop by and say, console me or something, please do. So in conclusion, I want to reintroduce myself. Hi, I'm Ron, and I'm a Python programmer.
So you used to program in Java, but you're all right now.
I'm getting better.
Okay, I once wrote a blog piece called Java is Object-Oriented COBOL. And you would be surprised at who it brought out of the woodwork. If you go and search for that post, I think you'll find it was published April 1st, but we had some good talks. Okay, so next up will be Justin Lilly. So if you can come up to set up, Justin. Oh, good, thank you. And now we're going to hear from, whoops-a-daisy. We're going to hear from Andrew Baker about coding across America.
Great, thank you. So I'm here to talk about a little project called Coding Across America. The brainchild, or the man behind it, is this guy. Despite the modern marvel of plastic surgery, that is not me. I'm actually here on behalf of a friend, Matt Mackay. We work together, and he's the man who got me into Python. He just decided to take 3 months off from work and travel around the country to talk to people like you. So he is doing this project. He just wants to talk developers. Especially Python developers, that's what he's passionate about. And he just wants to know what you're doing, the kinds of problems that you're solving, the kinds of businesses that you work in. And he's going just about everywhere. So that is codingacrossamerica.com. He's going to 30 cities, just looping all over the country. You may see one of these places is near where you live. We're looking at Charlottesville, Charlotte, New Orleans, Memphis, places in Texas, Los Alamos, Moab, Flagstaff, San Diego, Las Vegas, San Francisco, a couple places in Oregon, Seattle, Montana, Buffalo, Boulder, Omaha, Des Moines, Madison, Chicago, Detroit, Buffalo again. Oh, wow, Buffalo, Wyoming. Didn't even know about that. Boston, Morristown. So, yeah, he would love to talk to you. He's a really cool guy. I wouldn't have been here if he hadn't convinced me to give Python a shot. So please, reach out to Matt and tell him what you think. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Andrew. Certainly I'll try and make sure that when the show's in Portland, it gets a good reception. We like that kind of thing in Portland. We have a saying, keep Portland weird. It seems to work. Mostly it keeps the straights out, but Okay, so next up then should be Merwok at network.org, but I don't know whether Merwok is here or not. Is Merwok here? Okay, so since Murwalk isn't here, Dimitri, if you could set up for the next talk. Jesse Nola is coming down to have a word with us in about 5 minutes, so there'll probably be a pause between this lightning talk and the next one, and then after Jesse's announcements and so on, we'll go back to lightnings until it's time for Raymond Hettinger's talk. So for those of you who came in late and missed the announcement, what time do you call this? And Jessica McKellar is unable to speak this morning. So without further ado, we'll see what Justin Lilling has to say about getstreams.com. Thank you, Justin.
Hi, everyone. I am kind of fed up with the GitHub activity stream, so I made something that is, I think, a little bit better. My problem with the GitHub activity stream is that it's really hard to figure out what the heck happened. Like, there's a ton of activity here, but it's all in one repository, and I want to know what happened in all the repositories. So I made getstreams.com, and getstreams.com is an email digest for GitHub activity. It'll send you an email either daily, weekly, or monthly, and kind of lay out grouped by people or by repository, like, hey, your friend Andrew, this is the stuff he's been doing. Oh, gettip.com, this is the activity in that repository. So this is what the email looks like. It's a work in progress. So you can see here, I can see what Technomancy was doing. I don't follow these repositories, so it kind of gives me a high-level overview of, there were some issues, he pushed some stuff, Zach Holman commented on some issues, and then for particular repositories, I can see that because I follow this, I get a little bit more detail. These tickets were closed, some new things were messaged, and we had some commits and things along those lines. So if GitHub activity bothers you as well, I encourage you to check out getstreams.com. I think that's it.
Yay, Getstreams. So now a few words from our amazing, fabulous, terrific, superb conference chairman, Jesse Nola.
All right, so just a few morning announcements. There's obviously been a schedule change this morning due to a family emergency. Jessica McKellar's keynote this morning won't be happening. Our hearts go out to her and our best wishes. We will just have more lightning talks after I'm done, and we just thank her for her 2 tutorials and her talk that she's already done for the conference. If you ordered t-shirts when you signed up, please go and pick them up before noon today. We have an overwhelmingly large population of people here who would like to buy them in your place, so we need them picked up before noon. Speakers, if you are a speaker at PyCon, please pick up your Disney gift. Disney was very nice and made custom gifts for all of you. At the swag handout, see Paul, he works for Disney. We have a couple of lost and found items. Jeffrey Bartonek, we have your driver's license. I have no real use for that. We also have 2 flash drives, good luck with that, and 2 Nexus tablets, which if they're not picked up, I'm calling dibs. And then just finally this morning, quick reminder, no outside food, drink, or alcohol in the convention center. What happens in the hotel rooms stays in the hotel rooms, just not in the convention center because I get yelled at. And I don't like that, and it makes me sad. So, without further ado, back to lightning talks and Raymond Hettinger's keynote that will happen shortly thereafter. Thank you.
Okay, so just a quick announcement for those of you who haven't heard before. We're extending the lightning talk session until, I presume, until 9:30. 12:30, okay, when it will be time for the next scheduled talk. So we are looking for a few more lightning talk speakers. Mark Ransom, where are you? Mark, if you could set up. We'll probably be able to get, well, depending on how long they last, but we should have time for 3 more talks after the 2 speakers that we've already got queued up. I've got 1 speaker already, so I still need a couple more people to do lightnings. If you've got a talk that you'd like to give, we're all here. Okay, so it looks like we may have enough speakers now, but that doesn't need to stop you offering one. And don't forget, by the way, that if you want to sign up to give a lightning talk at tonight's session, the sign-up sheets are in the registration area. I will be collecting those probably about 4 o'clock, something like that. So if you get on the sheet by then, don't forget this year, the selections are random. It's not first come, first served. And so that's why the talks have been so good, I think. Just the random number generator in Python is brilliant. Okay. So next we're going to hear from Dmitry Jemerov about PyCharm.
Hello everyone. So that's quite an unexpected occasion for me, like to replace the keynote speaker for this morning. I'm probably not going to be as entertaining as she would be in my place, but yeah, I'm still going to show some tricks that PyCharm is capable of doing. And PyCharm is an IDE for Python, in case you haven't heard. And we have a booth in the expo hall, and if you have any questions after this talk, please visit us. So since I don't have slides, I'll use PyCharm to greet all of you. And well, looks like the presenter class does not have a greet method, so I'm going to use PyCharm to create it for me. Well, that was easy. Now let's show some navigation features. So PyCharm has actually plenty of those. So the most common one that you are going to be using is go to definition. So you can just put your caret on anything, press go to definition, and you jump to the place where it is defined. It works across files, of course. You can also, PyCharm can also understand the class hierarchy and let you navigate between subclass and superclasses very easily. You can also jump to any class or any method or anything else by name. So, I don't know, yeah, daytime class, or I don't know, my parent class. You can also show nifty pop-ups that shows all the contents of the current file and lets you easily navigate within the file. Now, of course, PyCharm as an IDE does code completion. And beyond the basic features like completing keywords, we actually know some stuff about the types of objects in your code. And we let you, we can infer types in many cases, and we complete members of the types based on the information that we have inferred. Also in PyCharm, you can, when you are using some external code, you can automatically import the modules when doing code completion. So for example, I want to use the appspath method, and it's not in the completion list right now, so I'm going to press the shortcut to display this again. And it shows the, okay, so it was probably not a very good example, but because it should, of course, it should be like this. But anyway, in general, this feature works. So PyCharm has a bit of nice tricks for refactoring. So for example, here is a new trick that PyCharm has recently learned. So here we have like a long string literal, which I'm going to extract some part of into a parameter of the function. So I select the word that I'm going to extract, press the shortcut for introduce parameter. It automatically finds all the occurrences of the same string inside the method that I'm using, suggests me to replace all of them, and they become the name of the function parameter. Now, of course, I can use this. I can pass some other ID to greet the PyCon developers. And actually, if I don't like the order of the parameters, I can use the change signature refactoring, which is also new in PyCharm 2.7 to reorder the parameters. So I can just use, for example, drag and drop to change the order of the parameters in my function. And it will not let me do this because I have to remove the default value first, and then it has automatically corrected the call to have the parameters in the right order. Another nice feature of PyCharm is code inspections. And one of the things that we have added in PyCharm 2.7 is the possibility to run PEP8 on the fly, which many people seem to enjoy greatly for some reason. I don't. But anyway, so you can point to so PyCharm highlights all the PEP8 violations that you have in your code, and if you want to fix them, it offers a quick fix that reformats the file according to the PEP8 standard. Also, PyCharm notices a number of common errors. So, for example, here you are supposed to be referencing a field of your class, and you have forgot to put self before it, and PyCharm, of course, recognizes it and lets you correct this very easily. Also, PyCharm checks the data flow of the values in your functions, and in this example, the local variable is going to be assigned only for some values of flag. And PyCharm highlights this as an error, and so in this case we are not able to offer a meaningful quick fix, of course, but it's still important for us to show you it, for you to be able to correct it. The next up is a type checker inspection. So even though Python is a dynamically typed language, it does have strong typing, and it does have certain constraints on which values go together with each other and which don't. And for example, you cannot concatenate strings and integers, and PyCharm recognizes that and lets you and highlights this as a warning. Also, PyCharm has a nice bunch of tweaks for web development. I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to show you the nicest feature, which is the color completion. So you can complete colors in your CSS file, and it puts a nice colored square in the sidebar to show which color this actually is. And that completes my presentation. Thanks for your attention, and enjoy using PyCharm.
Thanks very much, Dmitry Jemerov. So, Guto, you ready to set up now? Yep. Good. Excellent. So we do apparently have an adequate speaker list now, thanks to everyone who's stood up in the emergency. Just proves yet again that the Python community has a terrific spirit. So next, we're going to be hearing from Mark Ransom about NASpberry Pi.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Yes, my name is Mark Ransom. I work for Cox Media Group, and the topic of my lightning talk is the NASpberry Pi. It's about turning your Raspberry Pi into an energy-efficient home server. Now, first, I have to admit that I'm completely unqualified to give this talk because the first time that I laid hands on a Raspberry Pi was yesterday when they gave me my free one, for which I'm very grateful. But, yeah, definitely. But I did recently get this whole setup working really, it's pretty slick, on a Pogo plug. This little device you buy, and you have to sign up through the Pogo plug service. So, of course, I wiped the operating system they put on there and put Debian on it. And so if it works on my Pogo plug, it should, I think, work on the Raspberry Pi, hopefully. We'll find out when I get home. But if you look at the specs, the Pogo plug has a slightly faster clock speed, but it's the Raspberry Pi has a newer architecture and more RAM. The only real, I would say probably the real downside is that the Raspberry Pi only has a megabit Ethernet adapter, but if you're all on Wi-Fi or something anyway like I am, then that's probably not the biggest worry that you have. So what I have set up running at home, and what you can get working, is a nice file server running Samba for Windows file sharing, and NFS for Linux and FTP. I have a universal plug-and-play media server using mini DLNA, so I'm streaming all my videos and music to all the devices in my house, including Android tablets and phones. If your TV supports mini DLNA or DLNA, universal plug-and-play, then TVs, some Blu-ray players, and devices like that, so you can stream your media to those. And then also a web server running Nginx and Django, a torrenting server running Transmission Daemon, SSH server, and an OpenVPN client. You're probably thinking, what? Hold on now. This is a server, right? But I'm actually using so I use SSH to connect to my home server from out and about, from external connections. Basically, I tunnel my home NAS using auto SSH. I keep a live tunnel going all the time to one of my cloud servers, and then I can connect to that securely through my SSH. Through SSH from anywhere in the world. I'd rather do that. Obviously, you can install OpenVPN on here, but then you have to use dynamic DNS and poke a hole in your firewall, and I just would rather not go that route. So I use OpenVPN client for torrenting. I force all my torrent traffic through the OpenVPN client on this device. So setting up is really pretty easy. Most of these components, you can just apt-get install them. Except mini DLNA, I had to compile on the Pogo plug because there wasn't the distribution that I was running didn't have a library for it. But I think the little bit of Googling I did from my hotel room makes it look like you should be able to apt-get install that on the Raspberry Pi. So setting up some of these components, I'm not going to go over setting all of them up. I only have 2 minutes left. But setting up most of these, a lot of these are out of the box, or they require quite a bit of configuration like Nginx, so I'm not going to cover those. But setting up Samba is really pretty simple. You just open up the smb.conf and you put your different shares in there, and then restart Samba and they start showing up. Mini DLNA is also pretty simple. You really just point it, you open up the config file and you point it to the different media directories that you have. And you tell it, the V, A, and the P up there, that tells it is this audio, video, so that way your universal plug-and-play devices know what kind of content that is. So transmission daemon is a little bit different. I actually, instead of editing the settings file, I created a copy of it, and it's called template, settings template there. And I changed the download directory to the path to where I want to download my torrents to. And then I set the IP address to the word IP_address. And the reason I do that, you're probably wondering what's going on here, is because when I connect through OpenVPN, I have a little script here that connects me to OpenVPN, and the conf file I actually got from my VPN provider, so that was pretty simple. And then you'll notice there at the end I'm running an up script, so that's the script that runs when the VPN connects. And when OpenVPN calls that script, it passes it some parameters, and one of those parameters is the IP address you got, because it's dynamic. So I wrote another little script here called up.sh, and it stops the transmission client, or the transmission service, and replaces that word, the IP_address, with the IP address that I got from my VPN client, provider, and then saves that to the settings file that transmission is actually pointed to, and restarts the daemon. So what that means is that every time I connect to the VPN, it only binds to that IP address and sends all my traffic over the VPN, and then if I get disconnected from the VPN, transmission just stops transmitting. Here's what the web interface for transmission looks like. It's pretty slick. You notice I'm only downloading free movies and Linux distributions. You can set your download rates, you can select which files you want to save, and you can upload torrent files directly to it or paste the URLs. And then if you point your mini DLNA right to it, then you can stream those videos directly to your devices.
Ransom.
Thank you.
Mark Ransom, thanks very much. Mike Muller, if you could come up. Mike, if you'd like to set up for the next talk, please. Okay, and now we're going to hear from Guto Maya about NES, JavaScript, and a browser.
Hi. I was wondering, have you all have problems with your clients? I mean, your browser clients. And before I start, I might say that this lecture might have some bad language and some bad behavior, but I'm Guto Maya and I'm a programmer. But sometimes I do have to do some nasty thing, but I'm not design, and design is really different from front end. And when I was, not long ago, I was trying to do an experiment using, I have an angry client in a browser, because everything is doing some nasty things, and the client just doesn't know what was happening. So, hell, I have a NES game, and I should try something different. So, one of the main objectives of this code that I'm showing is, I have to do some JavaScript that really works on the browser and on the client in the same way. So I decided, why not do a compiler, entire compiler in the JavaScript. Sorry, the internet's not working. Every time the internet does not work, I have the local host. The funny thing about starting it over. The funny thing about having a compiler entirely in the browser is it's the same code that's running on your client is running in the browser. So it's really an ASM compiler, and it's doing the code live. So let me just change some part on the palette. And okay, that changed something. So, what else you can do with that? I have 2 minutes. Okay. Do you like this guy? Let me try to improve him a little bit. like change the. You have the bug ASME code at live. It's funny and not always work. Draw columns, draw sprites, draw anything, check columns, check attributes, and I have 1 minute left to make the Super Mario grow. And it's a name table, it is loop. Yeah, here. Let's send this to Annie. Let's copy the sprites. Sorry. Horizontal, vertical, and see if is about to kill me.
There's one in every audience.
Yeah, but
that sounds like Portland.
Okay, let's make it
I'm
bigger.
not quite sure whether this is a lightning talk or a debug session.
Thanks for the help, Stu.
Okay, thanks very much, Kuto.
Okay.
So if you'd like to set up, Richard. And now we're going to hear about EuroSciPy and PyCon.de from Mike Muller.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everybody. So if you don't get enough of Python conferences, I have two more for you. Yesterday you heard about the SciPy conference here in the US, and there's a European version. It's a bit younger. Usually European things are much older than Americans. This is the other way around. We had the 6th edition of our EuroSciPy conference in Belgium in August. So if you would like to come, Belgium is a very nice place, very good food, very good beer, and a very good conference. So we have, as you can see, 2 days of tutorials and 2 days of the conference. So the tutorials are very well received most of the time, and a very nice conference, a very variety of topics. So if you want to submit a paper, you'll have a chance to the end of April to submit your paper. And you can get the early bird rate to the June here. So if you would like to become a sponsor, we have a bunch of sponsors already. There are still some spaces to sponsor this event. Last year we had more than 200 people. This year we expect at least as many. So this is EuroSciPy. If you go to the webpage euroscipy.org, you'll find all the information in detail. Okay, so if you're in Europe and you happen to speak German, you might be interested in yet another conference, which is a PyCon.de, the 3rd edition. And this time it's not in Leipzig as it used to be the 2 years before, but rather in Cologne. And this is a meeting of the German-speaking Python community. And if you speak German and are in Europe, you're invited to come there also. Information, since it's in October, the date is, I think, should be here somewhere. Yeah, see, it's 14th to 19th of October, so there's a little bit of time. There will be more information up soon. People working very hard on it to put more information up. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mike Muller. Stuart, you're up next. And now we're going to hear from Richard Jones. And when I asked him what he was going to talk about, he said stuff.
Yep. Okay, I just got to say, holy crap, there's a lot of people in here. This is incredible. They just keep going back. Okay, so first up, props to the Julython folk. I mean, they're doing an amazing thing. It's cool. But I got to say, getting people to write Python for a month, that's really cool. By trying to make a game out of it, how about writing Python for like just a week by actually writing a game? Who knows what Pi Week is? Yeah, props to everyone who's done it. The Pi Week challenge is basically write a game in Python in a week. Okay, the idea of the challenge is it's supposed to be a bunch of fun. You learn a bit about Python, you learn a bit about writing video games. You have to write a video game in the week. You can do it individually or you can do it in a team. You just have to write the whole game in the week. There's been a bunch of code that's come out of Pi Week, a bunch of games that have come out of Pi Week. We've got new libraries, we've got new expertise. It's awesome. Lots of people have written whole video games, which is a really fulfilling thing to do. It's like writing a book. You write a video game. It's great fun. It's inspired actual games. There are games that are on sale right now in Steam that were started in Pi Week. You get to experiment with cool stuff, like I wrote some code to do cool curvy things in one Pi Week, and I kind of tried to make a game out of it. Didn't really work, but it was cool fun doing it anyway. So that's Pi Week. It's in slightly less than a month, which means registration is now open the week of 14th to the 21st of April. And the cool thing about Pi Week, which I've been running for about 8 years now, it's Pi Week number 16, I think, is that I've learned how to write video games during the whole time. That was kind of an excuse for me to write video games. And I've now got to the point where I've got a Python video game on the Android Play Store. Where's my slide? There we go. So that's a game in Python on the Play Store. So all those people who are talking about, oh, gee, Python's not fast enough to write a video game, it works just fine. And that was written using a library called Kivy. You get that from kivy.org. They did a talk yesterday. If you missed it, it'll be recorded. And those guys are awesome. And Kivy is an awesome library. And it's really nice. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard Jones. So, Christopher, if you'd like to come up for setup. Well, this is moving along nicely. I think we will have time for at least, we've probably managed to fit 3 talks in before we get to the keynote. So we will need one more speaker, which is going to be Jamie Alexandra, right? Is he there? There you are, right. So you'll be last today. Okay, now we're going to hear from Christopher Neugebauer. Sorry, we're not going to hear from Christopher Neugebauer yet. He's setting up. We're going to hear from Stuart Williams about a custom Python player, I think.
Good morning. This is a lightning talk because it took me less than 5 minutes to put it together. I gave it the title, Don't Make People Watch You Type, especially if there are hundreds or thousands of people watching you. The use case, or what drove me to create this, was a number of tutorials I've taught over the years where I have a bunch of lines of code that I want to demonstrate to the users. And I've got lots of them, as in 600 or 700 lines of code that I want to demonstrate in 3 hours. You don't want to see me type that. What you want to see me do instead, and I'm sorry I don't have my remote so I could walk away from the keyboard and do this, but you want to see me instead do this and see what it does. You notice it did a restart because I needed to clear the namespace. I can do things, demonstrate. I can go backwards if I need to. I can go forwards if I need to. It handles multiple lines. I put in comments when I want to remind myself to go do something else. I can go forward and backwards via, sections. Let me show you in about 30 more seconds the code. There's a code module in Python that you would want to learn about. And I subclass from code.interactiveConsole. And it doesn't really matter. Write sort of matters. The big one that matters is raw input. I overrode raw input, and I catch the stuff that's coming from my presentation remote, and I forgot to show you one other thing, and I go read a file that looks like this, basically Python code, except it's got line numbers on the far right, because I need those to be able to jump around sometimes. And then you return the command from the overridden raw input that you want the interpreter to actually execute. And here's roughly what it looks like. You just do interpreter, instantiate it, and interact, and it goes off and running. I've got a slightly more complicated version. This is still trimmed down because I do things like restarting the interpreter. So don't make people watch you type. Figure out a way to do it here. My email, I think, I've got here in case you want to contact me, and you feel free to borrow it or have it. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Stuart. Okay, Jamie, if you'd like to get ready for setup. Good. How are you feeling this morning? Any hangovers? Have to be on a Saturday morning. Oh, terrified by the size of this audience. It's all right. They're Python programmers. You're among friends.
I won't be much longer.
Let's hope so. Okay, so next we're going to hear from Christopher Neugebauer, who's going to talk on job security.
Okay, hello there everyone. My name's Chris. I'm here to talk to you about job security in Python. Hello. So reason why I'm here, I run PyCon Australia. That's running first weekend of July down in Hobart in Tasmania. If you want to make the trip, I highly recommend it. So, I've got a question for you. Why is it that people code in Python? Well, a couple of years ago at PyCon Australia, Raymond Hedinger said that the number one reason why big companies took up Python was because Python results in readable code. And if you import this in your Python interpreter, you get this line that says readability counts. You know, this is in the Python distribution. You type import this, it says readability counts. We have a style guide, which is meant so that any man and any Gumby can write readable code in Python. Now, I have a contention for you all. I contend that readability sucks. The first reason why readability sucks is that people can comprehend your code. What this means is that any new programmer who joins your team will be able to work on the code you have written. This increases your chance of getting fired. The second one, you can maintain your own code. This means you reduce the number of billable hours you can come up with because of all the time you save not writing your own code. And thirdly, your code will be applicable in more places. So you'll be able to save time by reusing your code. Once again, fewer billable hours. This is all bad. So now that I've convinced you that your code should not be readable, you might be asking to yourself, how do you write unmaintainable code? So I'm going to give you 3 ideas on how to write unmaintainable Python code to enhance your job security. Number 1 is to come up with obvious variable names. And when I say obvious variable names, I mean variable names that are obvious to you. And so here's a naming scheme that I come up with. You're more than welcome to rip it off, but you might want to change it a bit so that, you know, I can't come and do your job. So you have callables. These are superheroes. Classes are characters from a musical. Strings are famous actors. And numbers are movie characters. So it's perfectly sensible. Stop it, I only have 2 minutes. Okay, so here's another example from a web framework. Okay, so the second thing you can do to write unmaintainable code is to meta-program your Python code. David Beasley gave a great talk on this. I think it's recorded, you should check it out. So we have this collection. It has a couple of properties, a getter and a setter. So you've got get spam, that returns self.spam. Set spam sets it. So we have this collection here, and we go set spam, and it breaks, which is fantastic because somebody who tries to use it, they go help, get spam, set spam, that's all there. So the help works. Why doesn't the code work? Well, the reason why is because it derives from that. And get attribute just does a simple translation on all of the attributes so that you can't actually use the methods and properties that are defined in the help. So that's what the API actually looks like. So the third one, and this one is great, it's monkey patching. Because Python has a batteries included standard library, and that is another reason why people use Python. So what you want to do is you want to roll your own standard library and drop it into the rest of the code that everyone else in your team has written. So who here knows maths? Richard, you know maths. Okay, so what's the cosine of 0? 0, right? Yeah, it's 1. Yeah, it's 1. So it's 0. It's absolutely 0 because I've actually imported magic before I imported math, and importing magic does that. Okay, so it's not actually the end. This talk was a bit of a joke, but I have seen examples of this just less contrived in production, so don't do this. Yeah, and PyCon Australia. You're done. Our call for papers closes on the 5th of April, so get a talk in. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Christopher Neugebauer. So, we do have one more lightning talk, and then we're going to hear a quick word from Jacob Kaplan-Moss. So, to wrap it all up, Jamie Alexander is going to be talking about KA Lite.
Thank you. So I want to tell you how we're using open source Python to help make the universal education movement truly universal. So with this global network that's binding us all together, we have access to unlimited learning resources all over the internet. And Khan Academy has been leading the charge on this front with over 4,000 video lessons, 400 interactive exercises that have now been answered over 1 billion times. And the part that really inspires me about their mission statement is this emphasis on anyone, anywhere, that we really can reach everybody with this learning revolution. And they've done a lot of great work on this front with translations, dubbing, etc. But the question is, who are we still not reaching? What about those who are beyond the fringes of this global network? Turns out that 2/3 of the world is beyond the fringes of this global network, and so they're not able to take advantage of these resources. And it's even worse than that, because the places that need educational resources most are the same ones that don't have internet access. So our goal is to bridge this divide and reach these disconnected populations and make universal education truly universal with this project KA Lite to take Khan Academy content and serve it offline from a local server. So Khan Academy runs in the cloud, Google App Engine. It's difficult to port that to a local platform that could run in a classroom. But if we have a lightweight platform like we've built, we can run it on a server in a classroom in an area with no internet, and students can access from a local device. We've got it working so that we can run it off of a Raspberry Pi as well, so then we can use low power, inexpensive computing to reach communities beyond the fringes. And if we combine that with cheap tablets like the Akash tablet in India, both as a client device and now with the help of Kiwi, we're working on a wrapper so that this can be used as a standalone platform as well on an Android device. So the content is synced in through high-speed connections into the cities of the country, and then through lower bandwidth connections over slow sync to servers in more remote areas, and then the final mile we get to through the sneakernet. So it can run, again, standalone on the end user's device, or it can run on a server in a classroom so that the teacher can also connect in, view the student progress, help mentor the students so that we're actually empowering the teachers instead of just trying to replace them. And peer-to-peer synchronization so that we can really take advantage of the sneakernet, so syncing over USB stick, over slow sync connections, over any devices that come in contact. They can sync content, sync usage data, and trickle that back out to the internet and get new content in. So we started with a standard web stack, Django in the middle, but a lot of stuff outside of Python that was required to be installed. But since we want this to be easy to set up for anybody on any sort of device, we trimmed out the server Apache, trimmed out the MySQL database server, etc., so that we could trim it down to be pure Python. So this package is entirely Python, Cherry Pie, WSGI server in the front, Django inside, and everything else is pure Python, so we don't have to install any other dependencies. And this is more than just a Khan Academy content. We're really pushing the open content offline learning revolution, trying to encourage people to release their content under open licenses that allow it to be shared offline. So there's a lot of great content, Creative Commons, that can be shared offline. There's a lot of content that the original creator may have intended to be made available to anybody, and it's available to us if we have access to the internet, but not to the rest of the world. So we're promoting this idea of the offline commons, that we are encouraging people to release explicitly their content under licenses that allow it to be shared peer-to-peer offline. But this is also about empowering local communities to produce and share their own content so that they can extend this global network and allow their voices to be heard as well. Because everybody deserves to learn and everybody deserves a voice. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Richard Alexander. Okay, so it'll soon be keynote time. Raymond